Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Harley. I'm your host with TT News. This is your daily thought. Today we're going to be talking about $7 million in SNAP fraud case coming out of Massachusetts. We're also going to be talking about how the Trump administration just made some rules to end gender-related care for minors. Let's get straight to it. So, this is off the Justice Department's website. It says, two Massachusetts men charged with large-scale SNAP benefits trafficking. Defendants allegedly trafficked nearly $7 million worth of food stamp benefits and sold donated food product intended for the nonprofit Feed My Starving Children. These people were selling manna packs, dude, from Feed My Starving Children. I've been at, I've volunteered for that organization quite a few times. It's pretty fun if you're into doing something like that. It is a good time. Let me close this. I don't I don't need anything to read to me today. Let's go get rid of that. So two men have been arrested and charged in an alleged scheme to fraudulently obtain millions of dollars worth of supplemental nutritional assistance program benefits through small retail stores they opened in Boston. Defendants' monthly SNAP redemptions allegedly ranged from $100,000 to $500,000 per month, outpacing full-service supermarkets. Defendants also allegedly sold donated food product intended for food insecure children overseas. Now, this sounds pretty similar to what's going on in Minnesota. I don't think it's breaking yet what is going on in Ohio or Maine yet. But now we have it. We're seeing this in Massachusetts. And what I think was happening,
the world's first titanium non-stick.
Sorry about that. What I think was happening is that these people, right? Now I'm gonna tell you, I don't look like what I've been through, and I used to live in the hood. Okay, I used to live right on 26th and Irving, 26th and Irving, Northside Minneapolis. I lived on Golden Valley Road in Penn, Northside Minneapolis. I've lived on Emerson. I've been all over the north side of Minneapolis, which is right now, and even then was a hellhole. And at that time of my life, I wasn't really up to anything good. Believe it or not, I didn't have the same ideologies I have today. However, living in the hood, right? And I used to get food stamps, okay? I used to be one of them guys, okay? Unfortunately. But I'm not today. Believe it or not. And then I didn't even really need it, you know what I mean? I just got it because it was like what you did in the hood, you know? But it wasn't uncommon to go to one of the corner store, like, I think some people would call it like a bodega. It's similarly to that, but it's more like a corner store, less of a gas station, but, you know, usually owned by like some Middle Eastern man, or at least Middle Eastern man's working the counter, probably the only one that ever. Him and his brother probably own it. You know, and it wasn't uncommon to use food stamps to buy cigarettes. It wasn't uncommon to buy things with that SNAP benefit card, that EBT card, buy things that aren't EBT, you know, approved. However, they would just charge a little bit more. And as this story came out, I didn't even think about like the amount of fraud that could be associated with something like that and how often something like that might happen. But these people, they're really on the hook for some money, because what they were doing, right, is just as bad, if not worse. You know, because what they're doing is they're having people come in to the store, right, and they're literally exchanging their SNAP benefits for cash, you know. And I mean, I didn't ever see that. It would have made things a lot easier for me back then, but let's see what they got to say about this. Oh.
Antonio, we are announcing federal charges against two men, Antonio Bonner and Saul Elisme, for large-scale SNAP benefit trafficking, a scheme that turned a program designed to feed families into a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. SNAP benefits are also known as food stamps. The defendants are charged with one count of food stamp fraud.
The reason why they call them food stamps, I don't know if you guys knew this. I came from a very poverty-stricken household, but they were actually like paper. You know what I mean? Back in the day when like, I'm not gonna get into it too much, but that's why they call them stamps, because that's kind of what it was. You know what I mean? You'd get like, your little, paper, for the food stamps. I don't know what it was like back in the day, but older than that, but I know what it was like growing up as a child, and that's the way it was, and it was actually a lot easier then to commit fraud. However, you never really heard about it unless you lived in the hood, and nobody said anything about it because that's just the way it was. You know what I mean? I remember sometimes, my mom would buy cigarettes with them. You know what I mean? And it's nothing for the people that are taking in the SNAP benefits at these stores, because they're gonna get a check for it anyway. Real be real. So,
As alleged in the charging documents, these men abused one of the government's most critical safety net programs for their own financial gain. This is taxpayer money meant to keep people from going hungry. These defendants decided to take it for themselves.
but does it really do that? Because like, we're looking at so much fraud surrounding these government subsidies, these things like SNAP benefits. I know it's running rampant in Medicare. It's all these things that the government is pushing out. Like they're bigger government, bigger spending things. And don't get me wrong, there are people in need that need these things, right? So I'm not opposed to having these kinds of services. However, when they're done in the way that they're done now, and now store owners can just show up and be like, hey, by the way, like obviously the federal government had never been inside that store, or excuse me, the state government had never been inside that store to see what kind of store they have. So like, how could they even, they must have got a tip, something that to that degree. In my personal opinion, maybe I'm wrong, and it could be totally wrong. Well, I mean, maybe not, but maybe the government now is using their common sense to see the amount that's coming out of there. However, they could have prevented this by sending somebody over there during the process of getting set up and saying, hey, look, you don't have a whole lot of food here, because listen to what she says.
These defendants exchanged SNAP benefits for cash, which they pocketed. Bonner, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Haiti, owned the Jesuela Variety Store. Elise May, a lawful permanent resident also from Haiti, owned the Saul Mache Mixe store.
Why has it always got to be immigrants, man? Whether they're civilians or not, or citizens, I meant. Why has it always got to be the immigrants? Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But I'm just making an observation, right?
These two businesses were co-located within a single storefront in Boston. To be certain, these were not supermarkets.
And guaranteed the one guy started doing it and was like, hey, bro, I got the hustle for you. Check this out, dude. And we're going to take some of that money. We're going to buy some cryptocurrency, okay? Because they can't track it in Bitcoin, dude. So if we just take the money out right away and we'll launder it through crypto, okay? I'm just telling you, bro. You need to get on game, dude. And when I'm not here to handle it for the people on the 1st or the 6th of the month, or whenever they run them benefits, you know what I mean? I'm gonna need you to do it, man. But here's the deal. We're gonna split it no matter what. Guaranteed.
They were not full-service groceries. It would be a huge stretch to even call them convenience stores. In fact, the only thing convenient about these stores was how easy it was to commit SNAP benefit fraud. To put this in perspective, the Jesuela Variety Store is less than 150 square feet in size, smaller than some bathrooms. The Saul Mache Mixe store was approximately 500 square feet in space.
Exactly, and that goes back to my former point. If they're not going to these places and checking them out, like doing the things to make sure that like they have the stuff that EBT is gonna approve, right? Or that is under the approved EBT kind of like thing, you know what I mean? Then, I mean, come on, man, Yeah. But let's get on to the next topic. I don't want this to be too long.
The first rule will bar hospitals that participate in Medicare and Medicaid, which is almost every hospital, from performing these dangerous and harmful procedures. The second rule prohibits the federal Medicaid dollars from funding the sex-rejecting procedures on minors.
Good, because I don't want to pay for it. I just want to be real. I don't want to pay for it. Do you want to pay for it?
The FDA is issuing warning letters to 12 manufacturers of breast binders, which are medical devices used for purposes such as assistance and recovery from cancer-related mastectomies. The FDA is telling these companies that the illegal marketing of breast binders to children for the purpose of treating gender dysphoria commits sick.
Okay, I don't know too much about this, but let's go. What are they? Okay. So a breast binder or chest binder is a compression garment worn to flatten the appearance of breasts, commonly used by transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals to reduce gender dysphoria. I'm going to state my case because maybe I shouldn't. This is YouTube. I'll do it after.
Significant regulatory violations and requires swift congressional or corrective action. If the manufacturers don't comply, they could face enforcement actions, including product seizures. Furthermore, HHS is also moving to reverse the Biden administration's attempt to include gender dysphoria within the definition of disability.
Hopefully we all voted for this, because the issue isn't, if you fall into this demographic, okay, this isn't about you, okay? What it is about is people pushing their ideologies on people. See, here's the problem, right? What people don't understand is that when you push what you believe onto people who don't believe the same thing and who don't conform to your idea over time, what's probably going to end up happening is they're going to put regulation or boundaries on you being able to do that. And and we're seeing that, right? We're seeing so many of these people trying to push these affirming things onto others, whether it's wrong or right. Now people are, because here's the thing. Do your thing and stay in your lane and don't talk about it to people that don't agree with you. It's simple. Because here's the problem. We're going to create problems, right? Okay, let me elaborate. Because what that does is it draws attention to the issue. Drawing attention to the issue, now you have a bunch of people who don't agree with you, who hold all the keys, who hold all the cards, okay? And they don't agree with it for probably many different reasons. So what you did is you brought a bunch of attention to a subject, right, that honestly, in the privacy of what you're doing in your own life, okay, probably wouldn't have made a dang difference to them. Now that you try to push it upon everybody else to have to believe in this ideology, now the people that hold the cards who don't believe or believe the same as you, or have the same ideologies, are now putting regulations on it. I mean, and that's just how the microphone drops. So yeah, this wraps up kind of what our updates are for today. I'm going to have videos coming out here in the near future. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell notification. That way you get notified when we do things like go live, when we do things like post new content, that sort of thing. That way you stay in the know. I'm Harley, and I'm your host with TT News. Have a blessed day.